And now I would like to invite Professor Charles Stewart and the panel for the voting panel to come up on board. We're going to start immediately. Thank you.
So we're ready? Okay, let's go. Let's make Munster proud. Hi, everyone. I'm Charles Stewart. I'm a professor of political science here at MIT and the director of the MIT side of the Caltech MIT Voting Technology Project, which at MIT we like to call the MIT Caltech Voting Technology Project. It's an honor to be moderating the first panel of the IDSS launch event, which is on the future of voting. This topic of voting in elections, I think, is the perfect place to launch an event for an institute called Data, Systems, and Society, because elections, after all, produce mountains of data that is consumed and processed in a variety of systems, both public and private, leading not only to election results that affect society, but also issues of data use and control that are rarely grasped by the public. So let me say a few words about this as a way of easing into the panel. The data I'm talking about is not only about election returns themselves that we pour over on election night, but also includes things like these: the log files that the log files of the machines we vote on, the ballot image files that drive the voting tabulators, the voter registration files that record the names, addresses, voting histories of virtually every adult citizen in the United States, the proprietary files kept by candidates and campaigns that add commercial data to the publicly available voter files, thus creating profiles of virtually every adult in this country for the purposes of voter mobilization, the records of campaign contributions that are kept by state, local, and national officials, the individual response data from millions of respondents of public opinion polls that are archived in locations like the Roper Center and the ICPSR, among other places. And that's just the beginning. All this data that flows in elections links together systems of candidates, activists, journalists, pundits, pollsters, vendors, each of whom has a different interest in the data produced by elections, sometimes even to choose better candidates. But as this list of actors I just read suggests, interest in election data is not simply about choosing the best candidates and policies. It's also about who controls the data and how it is used. So that gets us to society itself, which not only has the obvious interest in the outcome of elections, but also has an interest in the data itself. It would probably come as a shock to many in this room to learn that the identity of everyone who has ever registered to vote in this country, including their addresses, past, present, and maybe even future, is public record, easy to procure, easy to commodify. In more than half the states, the voter file reports one's party affiliation. In about a dozen states, it also reports one's race. It may also come as a shock to learn that the data in voting machines and tabulators, and certainly the computer code, are not always public record and may not even be available for scrutiny by election officials. Not always, but sometimes. So there's a lot of good reason to start this symposium by talking about voting and elections. So let me turn to the panel very briefly. You have information already about them, but I do want to say a few words of introduction. And I'll talk about them in the order in which they will speak. Nate Silver is the founder of the website 538, which is a must-read, not just for political junkies, which goes without saying, but for anyone who is interested in smart, incisive, understandable, data-driven analysis across a wide range of topics, including not only politics, but sports, economics, culture, science, and technology. Most relevant to the panel, I want to mention two things about Nate. First, his work aggregating poll results to make accurate predictions of the 2008 presidential election at both the state and national levels, helped the public to think more clearly about how to distinguish signal from noise and all the information that comes up during the course of a campaign. And then secondly, I'm also obliged to mention that Nate is the son of a distinguished political scientist, Brian Silver, whom I cite at every turn, just to inform people of this connection. So I'd like to think of him as a colleague, at least by osmosis. Michael Alvarez is professor of political science at Caltech and is the other co-leader of the Caltech MIT Voting Technology Project. They probably always call it the Caltech MIT Voting Technology Project. Mike's a leading scholar of elections, voting technologies, and campaigns. He's a fellow of the Society for Political Methodology and has been the co-editor of Political Analysis, which is the flagship publication of the Society for many years. This has made him one of the tastemakers in the advancement of statistical and computational methods within the field of political science and social science more generally. Finally, he's recently edited a volume entitled Computational Social Science for Cambridge University Press, which I'm sure he'll say a few words about. And then finally, there's DeVorsey, who's the Chief Analytics Officer of the Messina Group, which is a consulting firm formed by former Obama campaign strategists after the 2012 campaign. And she's also the founder of Minerva Insights, which is an analytical consulting firm in Washington, D.C. I've known Cass for many, many years, ever since she was my freshman advisee at MIT, taking my advising seminar, which was about the 2000 presidential election. She left MIT with a physics degree, later entering the world of political data in 2008, a world that hasn't been the same ever since. So that's our panel, and we should have a good rollicking time, and we'll start off with Nate.